Hey, aloha everyone. Michelle Melendez with Blossom Inner Wellness and StandTogetherHawaii.com. This is the second year anniversary of the Lahaina fire, and I'm super excited to be interviewing Paul Dressler and Bruce Douglas of Maui Community Investigation. And we're going to be sharing the update of Lahaina and so much more. Thank you guys for joining me today.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you, Michelle, for having us. And also, Michelle, I just want to acknowledge, you're helping to put the information out consistently over the past 2 years. It's quite a process as we keep on trying to get the information out so people can be more consciously aware of what's truly going on and really the impact, the repercussions, but also how the same type of footprint of some of these incidences are happening globally right now. So I think there's a lot we can learn from Maui as we keep on being persistent in trying to get the information out. So
Absolutely.
And I just want to update it's Paul Delorier. French word.
Delorier. Thank you so
Delorier.
much. Delorier.
Delorier.
All right. Mahalo for that. So let's talk first about what happened today. This is the second year anniversary. Was there a celebration? I know that I'm going to be interviewing the state representative, Ellie Cochran, from Lahaina later today, and she said that there was a bell ringing at her church. What was going on in Maui or Lahaina?
Well, right now they are out. There's a paddle out that's happening right now, and that'll be going on till about 12 noon. And then at around 12 at the Capitol, well, our county building, there'll be another event. And then from 5 to 9 is the big event that'll be happening at the Lahaina Civic Center. So I'll be attending that. Then that'll be from 5 to 7 p.m. the Lahaina Civic Center. So again, there's a lot to remember. There's a lot of trauma that's still being happening right now throughout this whole community. Not only Lahaina, but also the repercussions are really, really significant, and a lot of people are still feeling them. I thought maybe I could start by going over the update on the recovery.
Sure.
And what I want to do is, there's a study that was done by the University of Hawaii Economic Research Organization. And they have done a study that followed 930 people, but also did a broader survey also as to what's happening in terms of people with the recovery aspects. Anyway, right now, there's about half of the people who were displaced are into permanent housing. So that's one half of the people, and half of those other people that have been displaced have moved off island. And at this point in time, only about 6% of those people are looking at returning. If you look at the number of people who have been who left Maui since the fire, there are over 1,000 people who left the island, and a lot of that has to do with the economics are just were not feasible, especially when you start looking at the housing. So let's go into some of the housing aspects of things. So again, 40% have been displaced from West Maui, have not returned home, have not returned to this island out of the displaced. And there are over 1,300 resident properties that were lost in the fire, but only 49 homes have been reconstructed at this point in time. So it's 2 years after. And then with that, there are 280 homes that are presently under construction, and there are an additional 184 that are in the permit process right now. So you can see that the recovery is quite slow, but there has been a lot of affordable housing that has been built around the outskirts of Lahaina, and that's where half of those residents right now are living.
You're talking about the tiny houses?
Tiny houses, and also there's an huge number of apartment complexes that have been constructed also outside of Lahaina. So again, it's a movement of people away from the center of.
Now, have any businesses been able to rebuild? I heard that no businesses are being rebuilt right now in
So
Lahaina.
we'll get into that.
Okay.
So let's go into the rental aspect, because that has been really significant, not only for Lahaina, but for the entire island. There's been about, uh, uh, so uh, right now there's a third of fire affected residents now live in, still receive full-time rental assistance. But that is drying up. So even those thirds, but then the 2/3 people who no longer are really struggling. Without formal assistance, the market rates have increased significantly. For large units, it is double the price of what it was pre-fire.
Wow.
So double. And at the time, also prior to the fire, we had the highest rental rates in Hawaii. And now it has skyrocketed, not only for the residents who are trying to find homes from Lahaina throughout the entire island. FEMA has done an incredible job in screwing up our rental markets, where they all of a sudden say, oh, you have a house? We'll give you
Yeah.
$10,000 a month to rent your space. And that affected all of the other than rental markets, because they just raised it up. So it was you could look at it as a gentrification move in some ways.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that people renting even those homes, like long-term renters were being asked to leave so that the homeowners could get this astronomical
Yeah.
rent from FEMA. So,
And if we don't get, and here's the issue, if we do not get affordable housing here in Maui, we're going to lose a lot more residents, and a lot more of the working class is
mhm.
going to depart, because it just can't be sustained with the rental rates. What's happened here also, we're having a struggle right now because we have a county council whose majority is supporting big businesses and big construction. So now they have, since they can't do big luxury homes on Oahu, now they
Mhm.
targeted us. They got one of the council members to create a majority. So now this guy who is receiving $8,000 a month from the construction industry on top of his salary as being a county council member, that's Tom Cook. Now he voted everything to go to reduce affordable housing and greatly increase the amount of luxury homes. We're looking at 7,000 homes here just in Kihei, South Maui area. And
Wow.
without helping with the infrastructure at all. We already have traffic jams. So this is
I
how crazy the situation is with these, especially big construction companies coming in to build big luxury homes. That's where they make their huge profits.
mhm.
So this
Well, and
is,
also the governor actually did an emergency proclamation and under Uncle Billy's Hotel, where he suspended the competitive bidding law, and he gave the contract to rebuild to this one company. I hear actually believe it's in Hilo on my island, but suspending the bidding law because of an emergency proclamation that he just decided to sign. So just absolutely
yeah.
disgusting.
So there's a lot of challenges also with our governance around trying to get affordable housing that for the residents here. So let's continue. As far as income generation, that 60% of the fire affected households report earning less money than they did prior to the disaster. And about 31% of households are earning less than half of their pre-fire income.
Why?
Less
Why
than
is
half.
that? Why?
Tourist industry has been greatly impacted. A lot of people who had the Lahaina was the small
Hmm.
business epicenter
Yes.
of Maui. That's where the major number of small independent businesses were located.
Yes.
The only
And the
thing that
majority
really
of the
seemed
houses
to,
that
yeah,
majority of houses that burned actually were the workforce housing. And a lot of those weren't even owning the house. They were just
Hmm.
tenants, putting 10 people to a house so they could afford to live there. They were the workforce. of the small businesses. So now small businesses, even those places are struggling to find workers because we lost our workforce because they can't afford
Wow.
to, no one can afford to live here and work at 20, $25 an hour anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I have a question about that too, about the workforce. But Paul, do you want to continue with that? And then
yeah.
I want to share my
So
ask my question.
yeah, there's right now uh, the financial losses uh, have pushed a substantial number of people into poverty. According to the study, there was 14% of households were above the poverty line before the fire. I mean, yeah, we're
Yep.
uh, but have since fallen into the poverty level. So now we have about 24% of the people in Lahaina are well below the poverty line. Um,
And it
as a,
just seems like this is like such a design. I mean, the way FEMA did this, like what you said, astronomical rents. I mean, it's just all it's just that's why I call this a land grab
yeah,
because
well, it certainly has a lot of repercussions as we keep on going through this report here. And what's happened is that tourism has not recovered,
mm,
especially for that whole area. And and there's a shrinking safety net. So by the mid 2025, nearly half of all fire affected households were no longer receiving any assistance at all. So again, if you look at the lack of employment, the lack of recovery because of tourism industry, no longer having businesses there, people losing their businesses, the repercussions
mm,
just keep on going on in terms of how it has affected the health and well-being.
mm.
Suicide rates were extremely high.
And they
Uh,
never talked about that in the news. They never mentioned the suicide rates. Do you
that's
have the
right.
numbers for that?
Let's see. I had it. Um,
And then my question to you,
uh,
Bruce, is around the workforce because I know that a lot of the workforce was, I believe that a lot of the workforce was out of the country, were immigrants. Is that right? It's the Philippines, and this is also why I've heard that the death count wasn't accurate because these people were not really um, counted.
right. So
But
we're talking about right now. There's recorded 104 deaths. And certainly the homeless population was not in the
mm,
census. So again, we don't know how many homeless people actually passed away. But also, as far as foreign nationals coming in and working and not being recorded, not having a green card, we don't know.
yeah,
And the best that we could do is look at surveys of local residents to know if they have lost a neighbor or lost someone that was living in the same complex as they did. But
mm,
again, we really don't know. So that's a question mark. I don't think we're talking about hundreds of deaths in addition, but we are talking maybe a few more deaths that have not been reported. Um,
interesting.
so now, again, the let's see here, shrinking
What about
safety.
the children? I'm always asked about the children because it did the before the fire there was 3,001 children enrolled in the Lahaina Luna School District. After the fire, a little over 500 went re-enrolled in the same Lahaina Luna School District, and 400 and I think 38 were enrolled in private, and there was 2,025 children that didn't re-enroll. Do you guys know anything about the keiki?
Well, yeah, that number has changed since way back when those numbers were taken. I think that the question that I have is, okay, if there are children missing, you know darn well that their mothers or their aunties would be screaming and putting up a big fuss when
Unless the whole families have burned together, because I know that Ellie Cochran said a family of 10 people died in one house 2 blocks from her. The
yeah
whole entire family died together.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I have no, I don't know. I do not have the answer
Well,
for
well,
this.
the only thing that we have in terms of a true reflection is when we were at the hubs and we talked to a lot of people. This was shortly after the fire. So we went there on a regular basis. I was there, talked to a lot of people and asked them the question, do you know of any
Mm,
children that are unreported or missing? And the answer was no. It says all the kids are accounted for. I think there were how many? Three that died in the
hmm
fire, three children.
Three officially.
Yeah. And so Bruce, do you want to add to that? Because you were part of
Mm.
that conversation with
Yeah,
all those
what
families.
a lot of that was generated on social media. It was assumption that school buses left in the morning to pick up kids, but they didn't return back. And there were a lot of assumptions that always happens. And we haven't seen it on the ground, haven't heard anybody saying, oh, my homeless friend wasn't counted or my child wasn't counted. We haven't heard any of that anywhere. So I'm thinking that, yes, some may have slipped through the crack, but I don't think it was the hundreds that some people claim. There were obviously
Okay.
some that may have, but I haven't seen any indication of that. And
Well,
again, it
that
was
would be
based on
really
some
great.
assumptions right at the beginning about the
Yeah.
school buses.
Okay. That would be
School
great because
buses had left the ground in the morning when they got the news that the schools were closed. So some of them had already started their route even, 6 in the morning or whenever. And then by
mm,
6:30, when they announced that school or seven were closing the schools, they had already picked up the buses, and that's why the bus ground
Yeah.
was empty.
got it.
So,
Got it.
and I think that what we're dealing with here, as in many incidences, is that uh, people just make up and report things that are sensationalized, and then they're able to get a lot of views. So this is on their website. So I think that part of that we have to filter out and look at.
Well,
Okay,
I do know that
what's
I totally agree with you, and I think that that is what I would really like to hear and know, that only three keiki were transitioned out of this terrifying experience. I do know that the governor, he actually mentioned in a report that they were expecting more children, or a lot of children, and so if that's true, that is fantastic. I do, so I want to go to Bruce around the weather, because there's a lot of weather warfare that's happening right now, especially with Texas, the flooding. And I also want to let people know, the arborist that I interviewed, he actually contacted me. Millions of acres have burned in Canada. They actually have put something out there saying that it's arson. I personally feel this is a weather warfare that's happening. He said that there's hikers, that nobody can hike right now in Canada because they're saying it's arson, and they're fining people $25,000 for hiking, for going into nature. And there's a whole thing around in the Big Island in our general plan that's preserve nature for nature, limited human activity. So is that the start of limited human activity? I think it's really interesting. But Bruce,
well,
what do you
it
think?
is, especially when you look at how so many of those fires, especially when they had the big blast of fires that occurred, all started at the same time.
That's right. I saw that video.
Such a huge, it's like, huh?
It was a satellite image, you guys, of it's in one of my videos prior, a long time ago, but there three fires started at the exact same time. I mean, even if you had three arsonists together saying we're going to light it at 2 o'clock, it's never going to be at the exact same time
Well,
like
it
it
was
was in
big
this
time.
video.
That was in Montreal in Quebec a couple of
Yeah.
years ago when it was like 27 fires started almost simultaneously from the satellite images. And
Wow. Wow.
it's
Wow.
way too easy now. We have, plasma wave technology, which we've turned into what we're calling the directed energy weapons is one category of that. But plasma energy is high energy abilities. That's a change of state technology. It's able to change the state of something from solid to liquid, liquid to gas. So when a plasma ray um, is shot toward uh,
So, Paul, you're
uh,
sharing your screen right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it
You're getting to that
so
picture.
yeah,
yeah, I'm
Okay,
trying
cool.
to
yeah.
get it so that we can start going into some of the weather stuff.
So
Okay,
it's
So
way
you
great.
too
see,
easy for a plane to fly over a forest and using a directed energy weapons to go zap, 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 fire, plasma energy, instantly start fires. And
Mm-hmm.
just a simple flyover in 5 minutes, you got 27 fires started. We have
Wow.
that technology now. It's sold by all the contractors. They're using it out, openly in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. So Bruce, I want you to continue the conversation on weather, but let me just go over some of the anomalies. So this is the impact of the area affected in Lahaina, and you can see that part of the weather manipulation is also around the pre-fire conditions, where we had a big spike of rain that happened. That was about 8 months prior. Then we had this kind of drought here.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so what we had is a lot of tinder. Exact same thing happened in the LA fire,
That's right.
where they had 11 months prior to, they gave a tremendous amount of water, just came gushing down. Vegetation grew like crazy, and then a drought. So this is one of the strategies used with weather, so that we had a lot of this light grass that supposedly was part of bringing that fire in. Another strange thing was this is from a satellite of Van Tusky. And Bruce, you want to, this starts here in August 3rd, and it
yeah, off the
travels,
coast, that funny blob off the coast of Baja California
and
picks
then
up.
it's
And I don't know if this one's showing it actually moving across, if it's the right one,
let
but
me let me let me
that
let me
blob
let,
moved
let me
across.
move it fast here. Okay.
Okay, that moved across like that. And at the moment of the fire, boom, that's the 8th that's the 7th there, the day
That's the
before. But
7th. So the day before, people were reporting this silvery
Haze.
white mass that just enveloped everything. And people were like, I was getting calls from friends. He says, do you see this white thing? What the heck is this? This is prior to the fire. So we weren't even
Yeah.
cognizant of that. But
Yep.
this is the type of particulate matter that often gets involved with these fire type incidences. Same thing happened in LA, where
That's
there
right.
was heavy particulate matter prior to the event. And you can just see it, moving in and enveloping. Then on the 8th, we were in the middle of it like this.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, again, what created this particulate matter. And we looked at some of the particulate matter and some of the nanoparticles and stuff like that, and it had some of the characteristics of thermite also. So let me move on here from this. Hang on a second. How come I'm not?
yeah, we still don't know what the constituents of that silver white haze was enveloping the island the day before and the day of. The other
But
anomaly was that the wind was intense just in Lahaina and just in Kula where the fires happened. No other place. And of course, we have the technology with ionospheric heaters,
mm-hmm.
HARP technology and HARP-like technology. It's way easy to create a low pressure cell and direct weather, but there was something that was making the winds just in Lahaina, because you got on either side of Lahaina, on either side of it,
Yeah.
there are hardly any winds. And the rest of the
Again,
Wow.
island,
I didn't know
even though
that
the day
part.
before it had big winds, the
oh,
day of the fire had minor winds that day on
it,
the rest of the island.
yeah. So I'll get into that. I'll show a slide on that, Bruce, in a minute. But this is the situation on the 8th, where we had Hurricane Dora 650 miles to the south here, southwest,
Yeah.
and then we had to the north, we had the high pressure system. So what they were saying, there was an inversion that was created, and that inversion was right on the, you know, directly located right over Lahaina, and that
Mhm.
inversion created that fire. But these were rapidly moving in opposite directions.
Mm-hmm.
So if you looked at it as a natural phenomenon, the weather pattern would also move. It wouldn't be stationary. But
Mm-hmm.
instead, as Bruce was mentioning, we had a stationary thing. Now, we also had a lot of these kind of wind cyclones that were there, wind spouts, uh,
Mm-hmm.
just tremendous amount of them, unprecedented. Never, no one has ever seen so many wind spouts that day on the 8th. And some of them were as, a mile and a half off. We have recordings of them. And as Bruce is mentioning, we had two areas where there was high concentrations of winds. It was right here in the Kula area where this fire occurred, and then Lahaina. But throughout the entire island, this whole other area was calm. I mean, Kihei was stagnant that day. So again, when you look at weather anomalies and you see these rapidly diverging high and low pressure systems and the wind stays stationary, you know something is up.
Yeah.
And
Well, I'm on Big
especially,
Island too, and we didn't have wind like that. And we're
yep.
60 miles from Maui.
And it was a very strange wind. It was a swirling, whipping wind that went around. And so it seemed a lot more intense than the overall wind going in one direction, but it was a whipping wind that created it. So again, part of that. Another phenomenon too, when we looked at the weather anomalies, look at the clouds. Bruce, you want to mention
Yeah, I
about?
saw this like the day before, where
Mhm.
line after line of cloud is coming at us from the North Shore. And I'd never seen that before with line after line of cloud. And it came as far as the Hawaiian Islands and then stopped.
Mhm.
Like it. And then when I looked, I was actually saving the screenshots of the hurricane because that's one of the things I do, studying weather and studying weather engineering. And there was a wave pattern being created in the ocean about 400 miles away from the Hawaiian Islands, where you could see these wave patterns being generated from a point source, like a drum beat going out and
Oh
waves
yeah.
going out from this one drum beat in all directions. And going just as far as the Hawaiian Islands and stopping, creating this. The day before, we had big winds, and they said it was from the hurricane. However, it was coming from the opposite direction of the hurricane and the opposite direction from the alleged high pressure system. It was coming from this point where you could see somebody hitting the drumbeat. Do we have the technology to do that? Yes.
We do.
Ionospheric heaters, HARP, can heat up the ionosphere with radio waves. Gets it hotter, it raises up, then you turn it off and it goes kaboom like this. And you can create low frequencies below by heating it and then dropping it. And if you get it in proper wave pattern, then you get in harmonics, boom, you get cloud after cloud dispersing in line forms like this.
What would be the reason for this? What do you think what do you think the reason would be for this doing this the day before the
Well,
fire?
you
Because
need
this
plausible deniability if you're going to start something. You have to blame it on hurricane, you have to blame it on winds, you got to blame it on natural conditions. You're going to set all those things up. You're going to start brush fires, which we found two start points of arson brush fires in Lahaina and one in Kihei
and one in Big Island,
and one in
up
Big
near
Island.
Hubby.
Yeah, and we showed it on the ground from satellite images from Google Earth. You could see the arson points where it fanned out from a point source right alongside of the highway. You get the brush going, and then you hit it with the plasma technologies to actually ignite the fire and get the inferno going. But you need plausible deniability. You need brush
Yeah,
fires. You
but
need something to pull it.
Bruce, it's climate change.
Yeah, we're
Right? That's
What?
what got me
So
started
when
in
you start
this.
to,
climate
but
engineering, baby.
yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but that's what you keep on hearing, the repetition. Oh, it's what's happening right now because of this global warming that we're facing. But if you look at the actual temperature averages, you look at the average temperature in 1960 was 80 degrees, again 70, 80 degrees, again 80 here, 79, 81, 79, 81. So again, you look at what are the actual fluctuations. When we went back as far as 1945 and looked at the records, it was actually warmer in 1945 than it was, at the time of the fire. So again, but again, that's the mantra being repeated. All
hmm
people have to do is
hmm
go back and look at the weather records. Exact same thing happened with LA. They were claiming global warming, and my God, you look at the weather pattern, and you go back there to the 1800s, and you go look at it, and you just see just little fluctuations, averaging about maybe 1 or 2 degrees difference, but it goes back and forth. I mean, this is not a
Well,
global
that
warming.
was the mantra chanted by Governor Josh Green, our World Economic Forum, Josh Green.
Yep.
And every second
Yep.
word he said, "Oh, this is because of
It's right.
climate change, because
That's
we
what
didn't
got
pay attention
me.
to climate change." And
Yeah,
then he came
that's
out and said, "Okay, don't worry, the state's going to buy up all this land because it's too toxic for anyone to live in. We're going to buy it up and turn it into a park, and then we're going to make work for it housing up in the hill where it's safe from climate change." And boy, he got shot down for that immediately. All the locals are revved
well,
up
he
and said,
should have.
"You're not doing it," and he
Rightly
had to back
so.
down. So I think
Yeah.
Rightly
he came
so.
out and said the what it was. He came out and said it, but the locals and the powerful people here said, "Oh no, you're not going to do that," and he had to
Thank
back down.
God. Thank
Yeah.
God. That's what got
And
me
that's,
started too
yeah.
in my research because I was like, he goes to the United Nations and says it's climate change. I'm like, oh my gosh, something else is going on here. What were you gonna say, Paul?
So, but it's as Bruce was mentioning, letting people have a strong voice and say, no, you're not going to do that, and be very persistent and on this. So again, when you look at people though, who, even though the reconstruction is extremely slow right now, and you look at the number of houses that were lost when I went over those statistics, and uh, again, it's at least it's not BlackRock coming in and saying, "Oh, we now have purchased all of your property. You are now displaced." It's not quite as obvious as that. But when you look at all the different economic stresses that are being put on the population, forcing people to move,
Mm-hmm.
another big financial stress that's happening is they keep on promising people to get these insurance settlements,
Yeah.
and just it just ain't coming. The big settlements that people were talking about, that $4 billion, it
Yep.
just is something that just keeps on moving forward because it was supposed to be done this summer. It was supposed to have a lot of those settlements done, and now they keep on changing it all the
Yeah,
time.
and I Ellie Cochran said that each person who had a family member die, they're supposed to receive, I think, $1.5 million, and one person has received it so far. There's $3 billion at that Congress. When I went over to Maui and went to the event with the mayor and Congressman Ed
Case,
Case,
Ed
thank you.
Case.
Yeah, he said he asked the mayor. He said this was last September. I went to Maui. He asked the mayor, he said, well, so we're going to give you this $3 billion. What are you going to do with it? And the mayor says, oh, we're going to have a plan next month. We'll have a plan for it next month, which would be October of last year, and to rebuild Lahaina. But yet, all these people that are supposed to receive this money are not receiving it. They spend $400,000 per tiny house of these glass houses, $400,000 a piece. And this one person in Hilo bid on that job and had fire retardant material to rebuild these houses for $40,000 a piece. And he wasn't even responded to. So
Yeah.
it was like,
So,
where is this money? Where is
well,
all of
it's
this money?
it's called disaster capitalism,
Mm,
and that's what we've been experiencing here. I'm sure they'll be experiencing in California, in
mm,
Texas, North Carolina. Disaster capitalism is a huge industry, and FEMA is tied in with that whole scam. So again, this is part of you know
Mhm.
just destroy the infrastructure and then charge them a lot. For example, one house to really cheap, made of press board, basically. It would have taken a maximum $40,000 to build,
mm-hmm,
right? Real
mm-hmm.
cheap. Those contractors are getting $840,000 for that shoddy construction.
Wow.
So
Wow.
this is the scam.
It is a
And
total
this is
scam.
part of disaster capitalism, where certain contractors are allowed to bid while others are not.
That's right.
And so it just, all the money gets funneled in, and then there's paybacks that happen through all of that too.
That's what I
So
was thinking.
there is a huge scam going on in terms of any type of recovery. that all of these people who are faced with disaster areas will be facing. It's part of the way it's wired right now. It's the
Mhm.
system. It's part of the cabal and how they function at this point. So this is what
Yeah.
we're facing.
And Paul, you were looking up that number of suicides, and then we went on to another topic, and I
Yeah,
want to go back to that.
yeah, I don't have that in front of me. I
Okay.
don't know where that is right now.
Yeah, because that
And
is
then
a
you
real
think of
thing too.
who is
Go ahead.
Lahaina Strong? How did they suddenly appear the day after the fire, even before the fire?
Mhm.
And how are they associated with all the other strong events that suddenly appear after? Paul, you want to talk about that?
Sure. There's a lot of the disaster areas where they have this strong uh, subtitle, and they so here it's really Maui Strong. Lahaina
That's
Strong is a
right.
little bit different.
Yeah, pardon me,
It's a
you're right.
different organization. It's more local. It's more grassroots. But Maui Strong got nearly a huge amount of the funding and donations that occurred, but yet they're keeping it. And it's not going to the residents. It's not going to that much to affordable housing and stuff. So again, there's a big question mark as to where all this money is going, just like what's happened in LA. You
That's
look
right.
at the concert that just happened, that big concert they had to raise funds. They had $500 million raised. None of that's going to the residents. It's
Wow.
all, you got a huge portion of that is going towards, you know, um, some of the people wired in, like Gavin Newsom's wife, who all of a sudden is now running this nonprofit, who got $40 million. So this is the type of scam happening, where they create disasters and then siphon off money. And again, it's fairly consistent with all the different areas that have been affected by these catastrophes. So
Wow.
again, hopefully people start to become more consciously aware of what we're dealing with and start to get involved with civic action, because we need that. We need political action groups,
Hmm.
so that, like Michelle, what you're doing with trying to raise awareness, what we're doing right now with the Maui Pono Network, which is um, another organization, but we are focused on political action with that. This here, we're focused on the catastrophe with Maui Community Investigation, but the Maui Pono Network, if people want to check that out, it's focused on specific issues. Like right now, we have a county council member who has been receiving $8,000 a month for the construction industry and is voting for them all the time, stopping affordable housing and doing luxury housing.
Wow.
That's a good example. Another good example of one of the things that we're working on is election integrity. Right now, in fact, on the Big Island,
Yeah.
there were 19,000 votes that were unaccounted for.
I
And,
saw that. I saw that video. I'm still going to do a report on
we
that.
had, and same with Kauai, Maui, they refused to give the records to check to see. And I'll tell you, I've been one of the witnesses, observers in the last 4 elections, and there are 7 areas where they can manipulate the vote easily, easily.
Wow.
And the election commissioner refuses to do any investigation or looking at any of that stuff. So part of what we're doing right now is trying to get the election commissioner out, so we can get someone who can represent the people instead of these big corporations and money laundering that's happening.
Well, you guys just give me an action and I'll send it out to my list.
Okay. Well,
Standtogetherhawaii.com is not just for Big Island, it's for the state. We're working on our own general plan, which thank God we finally have somebody in county council that's asking the right questions, because this general plan, which is over 300 pages long, and our regular general plans are like 50 pages. I mean, this is the UN Agenda 2030 coming to Big Island. So we've been fighting it for it'll be a year in September.
yep.
But I just want to say thank you so much for MauiPonoNetwork.com or
Either way, .org.
Dot
.com,
org. Dot,
either
okay.
one.
Now I put, yeah.
So yeah, I think that, what you're doing, uh, Michelle, in terms of raising awareness of getting people involved locally, we have to take over our
Mm,
local governance.
I agree.
And then with that, we can create charter amendments so that we rewire the laws so that they serve the people and environment. For example, when we had that progressive majority, we were able to pass 19 charter amendments in 4 years. That's pretty
Wow.
unprecedented. Like, they were
Yeah.
significant too. I mean, we had a Canadian company that owned our water distribution system, who controlled our water system
Weird.
here until we passed a charter amendment that said, no, this is owned by the residents. We're not going to have a foreign entity control our water system. Thank you very much. And so these are the types of things that we did. We're doing stuff with affordable housing. These are the types of things where people can get control of their local governance so that it can become more self-sufficient, so that you can unplug from the bigger system.
Mm,
Here, we need to unplug from the Oahu system. The state system here is extremely corrupt.
yeah, it is.
And unless we get new governance in there, but again, it's very, very difficult because the way it seems like the election process is rigged at this
Oh, very
point in
much
time.
so.
So again,
Yeah.
we're trying to deal with that. So it is a chess game with a lot of different pieces moving.
Mm.
So and just like with these incidents too, there's a lot of different pieces to it. So Bruce, you wanted to talk a little bit more about the weather thing, and then we can go into some of the other anomalies, because there's a lot of different pieces to this.
Well, a lot of pieces on that weather. Well, yeah, the wind generation was extremely strange. As I said before, just in Lahaina, just coming down that mountain. And the only time that ever happened before was like in the 1920s. They have a name for it, a certain wind that comes
Hmm.
down from that valley, but it lasts about 20 minutes. And it's just at sunset as there's a temperature change, and the wind comes down the valley and goes toward the ocean. This lasted all day, and it was gusty wind going this way and that way and swirling different directions, almost like someone was from above going like this and moving the aerosols, the particulates around to create these crazy winds gusting different directions, which is, can they do that? Yes, with these are ionic
Yeah.
particles. The ionospheric heater technology can interact with the ionic particles from a burn.
And when you
I didn't know
combine
that.
that, if you combine that with electromagnetic type energies and then using microwaves, there's a lot of things that can be done with the weather, creating columns so that it just isolated in one area and you can create high winds. And the winds tend to go from upper to lower down. And it was so strange. If you look at the water, for example, the waves, a lot of the people who were out on the water observing, when I asked them, they said they had never ever seen waves like that were kind of choppy, moving in different directions. And it was like being in a wash tub.
A washing machine.
And so again, that's a very good indication of the strange winds that were occurring in that swirling motion and having them come from up, down. So again,
Well, I
they were
have
they
on
were
screen that generation of that drum beat out in the middle of the ocean, creating those
Hmm.
wave patterns coming toward us. I mean, we have that on satellite. We have that
Yeah, I saw that.
silver blob coming across the ocean, covering it with haze. All these things are in place. We can't like put our finger and say, oh, here's the machine that did it and here's
Yeah.
how. But we certainly see the results, just like you can see the results of plasma technology used. One of the herald
Yeah,
signs
very
of
much
that
so.
is that plasma is like lightning bolts. That's what lightning bolt is. It's plasma energy. When lightning hits a tree, it travels down the center of the tree. When it hits the ground at the center of the tree, it catches the base in the center of the tree on fire. And there's thousands of videos and photos of
Yeah.
lightning hitting trees and the fire going up the center, but the outside bark is still intact. But the
Yeah.
fire is all up the center because that's where the energy hits the moisture in the middle.
Hmm.
And we found what, 28 trees in Lahaina
20.
area, and just the
Yeah,
area where we were able to get to,
yeah,
uh, where the trees were burnt from the inside out.
Yeah.
and not even
So let me get into that with some visuals on that too, to help the audience really grasp what's happened. So this is the restart of the fire that happened at around 2:55 that afternoon on the 8th.
Oh, that's right. Because they said they
And
put it out
yeah,
and
they
then
put
they
it out and
restarted.
then it restarted. They put it out early morning and then it restarted later. And it traveled very, very quickly down this. In fact, it was so strange how quickly it traveled. It seemed like someone had a laser thing and they were just moving it along, and it jumped the road. And then as it jumped the road, you can see it here, and you can just see this is just brush that was doing in grass, and it was traveling fairly rapidly because of the strange wind. And I want to bring our attention. So this is how it came in. It came across the highway and down here. You were seeing the flames moving down here like this. This was people were on the bypass here. And we're going to zoom in right to this spot here, right where I'm pointing with the
Okay.
cursor. And if you look at it, there's a Quonset out here that's perfectly fine. This is taken after the fire. And this house is perfectly fine, but we're going to go right to this. And this is all basically asphalt. And there's hardly no grass here. There was
this is
no
the part
grass.
where I call ground zero of the fire, where the supposed natural brush fire interfaces with the
God, look at that.
neighborhood.
And this is that black spot that I was showing. So
Yeah.
how can that light grass all of a sudden create this type of destruction to the engine block? And also, here's the Quonset hut, just perfectly fine. House, perfectly fine. Asphalt shingles, everything intact. Look at this light
I know, I was
brush.
thinking that right there.
I took this picture 2 weeks after the fire. I went in there with Bruce, and this is a shot we took 2 weeks after. If you look at the back of the cab, tires are fine, gas in the gas tank. There were aerosol cans here that were working just fine. Look at this. It looks like it's not even touched.
Touched,
There
yeah.
was a ladder in the back here, all of the material here, wooden material and stuff, untouched. But
Gosh.
again, look at
So
this.
the key
So
to this
Wow.
is plasma technology. Lightning strikes something with mass. Plasma is aimed towards something with mass. The greater mass it has, the more it's attracted to it. So if plasma energy is coming down, it's going to be attracted to the engine block of that truck because that has the greatest mass. Or it's going to be attracted to that truck before it's attracted to the house next to it or the Quonset cut because the truck has the most mass. Just like lightning striking, it's that same thing. It's attracted toward a grounding mass that will take that
yeah,
energy, which is why we're seeing these engine blocks melted, but the rest of the car
but the
not.
rest of the car, and it's
Oh,
again,
It's a
if you
herald
look,
sign of plasma technology being used.
wow. I did not know that.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you see how thin the metal is here
Yeah.
around the doors and stuff like that, you'd think that would disintegrate and go, or the back of the car, or even the back of the tires are fine. But when
And
you
but the
see that,
glass is melted out and the friggin' engine's gone.
Yeah.
so there you go. So this is
Now,
the type.
normally this would happen if the engine with the gasoline explodes and the whole
Yeah.
car catches on fire, but that's not what happened because you see the engine block and there's not a whole lot of fuel for an engine
Dang
block.
it.
There's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
few rubber hoses and stuff under there, but it's all steel.
And we had a lot of pictures of vehicles like this that were in the middle of driveways where, look at the shrubs here, perfectly fine,
House is
untouched.
fine.
Look at this.
Fine.
And then, but in the house, untouched, but the whole engine block, the engine just totally gone.
And so this is key to the behavior of plasma technology naturally being attracted towards something with the greatest mass. Again, hitting that dense car before it hits the house or the shrubs next to it.
Yeah,
Just how lightning
Wow.
strikes happen. So
yeah.
think of it as lightning, see it as energy waves, and see it as a change of state technology that'll, change the state of something from solid to liquid, liquid to gas.
So this is, I just want to take, we did a lot of studies also on the LA fire, the comparison between the two. I have a pretty comprehensive video on Maui Community Investigations, where we compare
Mm-hmm.
the LA and Los Angeles. There are 20 points of comparison that I went through.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw this picture of this, you can see the engine here is on fire, and notice there's no flames. There's a tree right here. There are shrubs right here, but yet
Wow.
this engine block is on fire. So again, uh, the only type of thing is this is obviously not natural. And as Bruce was saying, this microwave plasma technology is something that seems to be part of the footprint. Now, another part of the footprint
Mm-hmm.
are, as Bruce mentioned, are the trees. Trees like this burn from the inside out.
Yeah.
And some of the trees were fairly small, large, that were burnt all the way down to the root system. And so this is all hollowed out, this whole tree. And you can look at the inside and you can see how
Wow.
how beautifully it's carved out, and it
Yeah.
goes way down into the root system. When I went in there and we were exploring the trees, as Bruce mentioned, we looked at 28 trees. Some of them I could dig down 14 inches where the taproot once was.
Wow.
So
And
a
again,
tap
that's indicating that was exactly what a lightning strike would do to a tree. Exactly the same how it behaves. The lightning, the energy, the plasma energy goes down the center of the tree where the most moisture is, where the most density is, travels, hits the grounding point. At that point, it heats up, gets extremely hot, and ignites the fire from the tap root up through the center of it. Exactly what lightning would look like, a herald sign of plasma wave technology in use.
yeah.
And
Wow.
what's interesting is we saw pictures in Israel where some alleged fires were, started by the enemy in Israel. And but you see all these trees doing the same thing, burning from the inside out. It's
Mm-hmm.
like someone used
Everywhere.
their own friendly fire uses plasma energy to ignite all these
Yeah,
olive trees and
yeah,
stuff on fire from the inside, but nothing around it.
And this was the same in the Tubbs fire in California
Right.
and
All over,
other,
we're
yeah.
seeing the same patterns.
yeah. And also very strange. You can see here are tree with leaves
Yeah, that's what
still
I have,
on
yeah.
it, and you can see it overhanging these homes that are totally burnt. So again, it's not every single tree had this type of lightning type effect,
Well,
Mm-hmm.
let's say
but
what this is indicating is the house has more mass and
mass.
density than the tree. So if the
Mm-hmm.
plasma energy is coming down, it's going to be attracted toward that house and change the state of it because houses were lighting on fire like that in the fire. Like
Yeah,
suddenly the
that's
whole
right.
house is boom engulfed in flames, like instantly almost, right?
Yep.
And we saw that all over the place. And we also saw where particularly metal buildings, commercial buildings were burning from the inside out.
Yeah,
Like the
that's right.
energy caught the inside like a microwave, burns the inside of a tree of the food, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, plasma energy will heat up the inside of the contents, caught the contents on fire before the outside's even on fire, a metal building.
Wow. That's
So
just
again,
amazing.
they're trying to paint the scenario that this is a natural disaster,
Mm-hmm.
an unfortunate natural disaster. But
Yeah, I
um,
sent a 17-page, oh, this one is about the cat, you guys.
yeah,
I sent a 17-page affidavit along with a lot of us that to the governor saying this needs to be investigated. Obviously, he wasn't going to do that because I think he's part of it, part of the cover up, especially when he's talking about climate change. But go
well,
ahead and
yeah, look, yeah, and we could talk about the governor and also underwriter laboratories. I'd like to touch on that also. So remind me
okay.
later. So again, here are some of the bodies that were taken. This is a photograph of a cat that's in stride. You can see this puddle here. That's exudate. That's what happens when fluids come out of the cells itself. And and some of these animals were So you can just see it's perfectly frozen in place.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's a it,
Unbelievable.
it's amazing.
So
Yeah.
Yeah,
this
it's
is more
amazing.
indicating like a microwave hitting. You know how microwave cooks from the inside out.
Hmm.
So the inside is all cooked instantly, frozen, cooked out the inside, but the outside of the thing is still fine.
Hmm.
There was
With
the animals as well as people we saw the same way, where they were toasted from the inside out rather than, it's like a difference between a microwave and a convection oven.
And look at the ears, the tail, the fur. That's impossible in a regular fire.
the fur is this thing that really gets me on this too.
Yeah.
It's like, how can that be?
The first
Yeah,
should be the first
yeah.
thing.
Yeah. So here is then another body that we have a photograph of. Uh, we did a little bit of an enhancement on this to really look at the way the body was decomposing at a very rapid rate. But again, the cornrows with hair
Hmm.
still in place. And there's another body
Sad.
over here.
Hmm.
Further on, there was two bodies in a vehicle. But again, this is when we showed this to 6 former fire captains and fire chiefs, we asked them, have you ever seen a body like this in a fire? And they said, no, never. It says, this looks like microwave.
Hmm.
This looks
Well,
like a
also, I just want to say too, being a fitness professional, I know how people fall and they don't fall face first like that with their arms up. They don't, that's not how a body falls. And a body falls to its side. The head is turned so that it's protecting the nose, the face, the
Mhm.
arms are out, the knees are bent. This happened instantaneously. Something happened very fast, and that was the only mercy of these poor victims.
There are pictures of people, stupid people, who put their cat in the microwave, and the hair doesn't burn, but it toasts from the inside out, but the hair is still there. And you can compare that technology, because I'm always looking at what technology did this, how to
Hmm.
reverse engineer this. How was this done? It wasn't done with a convection oven, it was done with a microwave oven,
Hmm.
with some sort of plasma and microwave
Yeah.
combination technologies in use.
So,
Well,
so
there's a US patent for a microwave technology laser plasma beam waveguide
well,
that
Well,
uses
the
microwave.
they use
Yeah.
lasers to guide microwave energy. So
Hmm.
the microwave will guide on the laser. They'll also use lasers to guide plasma energy, which is a newer technology.
Hmm.
It's a combination between the two. It's the lasers, a guidance system, but this was not laser photon technology. You can't get enough energy to do things. So everyone who tries to say it was lasers, I'm sorry, that doesn't work out in technology.
yeah,
But
no,
it
it's
does
not.
work out when you see laser guided microwaves or you
Hmm.
look at plasma wave technologies like
So
directed energy
so and
weapons.
Yeah.
and right now there's a lot of patents as well as a lot of technology in use, medical technology and things that use for detection and stuff like that that use a combination of microwaves. The microwaves create even a low energy source of getting plasma energy to form. So in order to get plasma, in order to get that lightning strike from the atmosphere, to extract that type of energy from the atmosphere, they're using microwaves. So we have the combination of those two here. So that to me is definitely a smoking gun of this combination of microwave plasma technology. Again, something that is well utilized. It's
Hmm.
science that has been in effect for quite some time. It's using technology, but it can be weaponized in such a way like this.
And this
It,
body should be the smoking gun of you can't argue this one with the hair,
Yeah.
the cornrows
Right.
of this gentleman's hair still intact,
yeah,
but the
Yeah.
body toasted
yeah.
from the inside out. You got
Actually,
it?
actually, it was a woman. Actually,
A woman.
Bruce. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this
So
is a patent, April 23rd, 2002, microwave transmission using a laser-generated plasma beam waveguide. And this is a US patent that people can just look up. So,
yeah,
yeah.
well, but and there's technologies that you can look up too that actually use the microwave plasma interface. So
Hmm.
again, this is something that's there. This is that
Yeah.
toad that had nothing on the inside. It was cooked
Yep.
from the inside, but was, in stride.
It got
So,
stolen. It was
oh,
actually a
Oh
doctor
no.
said a
yeah,
doctor said that they could check it for microwave energy. We sent part of it to him. He never contacted us again, wouldn't return our phone calls, wouldn't return our text messages. Then my friend gets robbed and the toad gets taken. And I
Oh
wish I
boy.
would have had a piece of it and kept a piece of it, but we don't have it
Oh my
anymore.
gosh.
So yeah, they just don't want this stuff to come out. So anyway, um, so that's what I have in terms of visuals at
I
this
want
point
to
in time.
understand what this plasma is, just so we get our terminology right. Plasma is the fourth state of matter. There's solid, liquid, gas, plasma. Plasma is the highest energy state of matter. It's disorganized. It's not spinning in little toroidal fields making atoms anymore. It's blown apart into its fragmented piece, and it's the highest state. As you add energy to something, it goes from solid to liquid to gas as a higher energy state, and then plasma is the highest energy state. So you can concentrate a lot of energy using plasma, this disorganized stuff, energy fields, and wave pattern it back in wave after wave without a lot of power behind it, which is, we're seeing that in use in Israel right now. That's what part of their Iron Dome and all this other stuff is, they shoot things. It's not lasers, it's all plasma energy. It's a weapon system. And when that energy goes toward an object, like they aim plasma energy, directed energy weapons toward a tank, it doesn't blow the tank up. It vaporizes the area of the tank that it hits, just like vaporizes it back into its constituous, not even molecules anymore. Just,
Powder.
powder, less than powder. We
Mm,
don't see it anymore. But 99.9% of the universe is plasma, disorganized, we'll say, stuff,
mm.
until it starts to spin in little atoms, But that's actually a lower state of energy than the plasma. That's why the whole 0 point energy, where you tap into the field of plasma, that's got way more energy than our molecule world. So,
There's one estimate in terms of how much energy is within that plasma field. If you were to take a cup full of that energy, just a teacup full, and utilize that energy, it would be enough to boil the water of all the oceans.
Oh, I've heard
Uh,
that.
so that's something that John Wheeler came up with, who's a famous physicist, and he was just making that point. Maybe it doesn't exactly come out to that type of, but there's tremendous amount of energy. That
Power.
was the point. Tremendous amount of energy within this plasma. And what's happened is that this new technology this technology that's being utilized now and weaponized and put out
Hmm.
has been something that's been developed starting in the late 40s. And a lot of that technology has been utilized by Lockheed Skunk Works and other groups that have taken that research and not given it to the federal government, but have privatized that. So
Hmm.
we're dealing with a tremendous amount of technology, advanced technology, that has been developed secretly under black ops. And if you look where the trillions of dollars, it's up to $21 trillion. I can't even
Hmm.
fathom that amount of money has been poured into these black ops to develop this weaponry. And now they're utilizing our tax money that
Yep.
was utilized for that development to then weaponize against the citizens. And that's what we're seeing right now at this point in time.
Yep.
So again, you look at companies like, well, who's behind it? Is it BlackRock, who really is an investor in all of these major technology companies?
Well, you're
Or
looking at who's the main people behind BlackRock and Vanguard, because those are the two main
yeah.
investment companies of renewable energy and electricity. So, but you're looking at
So
the
so
investors
so
behind them. Yeah.
so we are up to our ears in it at this point in time, and I think that it requires us to start getting involved locally, civically,
Hmm.
to take action so that we can actually start to utilize that same energy, that same field of
Yeah.
energy that we're surrounded by.
That's why I
And the
pray
way
the way I
that we
pray.
can do that, is through our group energy fields. And that's another
Hmm.
way to access and generate a tremendous amount of energy. But also, if you start utilizing that more on a metaphysical level, where you can actually start to create, manifest, and
Yep.
utilize that in a positive way. So I think what this is forcing us to do is to become more consciously aware that everything is energy and consciousness. And we are all part of that. And if we start to learn how to utilize that energy and that consciousness, and get out of this illusion that we're in this simulacrum, as some people call it, and start to realize that everything is just this energy field, and we're in consciousness, and we can direct and manipulate and utilize that energy in a positive and uplifting way. If we do that as a group, it becomes our own then type of energy generator that can
Absolutely.
help transform
Absolutely.
the system. So again, I think this can be a spiritual awakening for us. It seems
Exactly.
overwhelming, but I don't want the people who are viewing this to say, oh my God, we're screwed. Yes, we are if we don't do anything. But if
That's
we
right.
start to do something and work together collaboratively, like you're doing, Michelle, making a difference in terms of just making people more consciously aware of what's happening locally in our governance on a state level, on a county level, I think that's the type of engagement, involvement that's needed in order for us to access local government, so we can make it so that we can unplug from the corruption and be
Yeah.
self-sufficient.
And
But in
that's
order to
so
get
that's exactly,
self-sufficient,
yeah.
if we're going to get self-sufficiency, if we're going to develop our own local currency, for example, it would be really important to have county government behind that, saying, yeah, we support this. This is great. We're going to use our own local economy, to develop our own local economy. We're going to use local resources. And we've done that before. I was involved in Massachusetts in utilizing 3 different forms of, just local barter, local exchange, local money.
Yeah. That's
So,
definitely the way to
but
go.
these are
And
the type of
Bruce,
things, but we
I
have
love
to,
it.
yeah, but we have to work together
I
collaboratively.
100% on board with that
But
one.
this is,
Bruce,
but this is a wake up call. So,
absolutely I mean, you don't get a bigger wake up call than this. This is, yes, 100% agree with you, Paul. Bruce, you had done a study on the soil, research on the soil. Can you share what you found?
Well, what I was doing there, I was specifically testing for the 2 main metals, toxic metals that they were doing, the arsenic and lead. Arsenic came from the copper arsenic treated wood, which is how they were treating wood for termite proof back in the day, from the houses that burn, and of course lead from the lead-based paints, which were in the soil. And we were trying to show that most of those contaminations were in the very top layer of the, yeah, they were digging out, up to a foot of soil away, right? And
That's right.
taking to that dump for dumping. And I was showing that no, actually 90% of the toxins are in the ash layer sitting on top. Scrape the ash layer off, deal with that separately from the soil. I was trying to separate the ash from the soil. The problem is that FEMA and Army
Army
Corps of
Corps,
Engineers wanted to mix the soil with the ash so they could dilute the toxins down to a level that consider it a class 1 waste, and they can just put it in a dump later. So they wanted to mix it, and I was trying to say, no, let's actually, burn that ash without oxygen and turn it into this basic carbons. You burn it without oxygen. It's just how you get rid of trash. And we can use that same technology for dealing with our trash, rather than just burying it, which is stupid.
Yeah.
But FEMA and actually, when we met with the mayor, Paul and I met with the mayor and his assistants to talk about that. In the end, FEMA didn't want anything to do with that. They wanted dilution as a solution to pollution for them, and they weren't going to fund it or have any part of it. So it went away. But that was what we were hoping to, instead of putting the ash into a cinder cone,
Hmm.
where it can leach into the ocean,
That's right.
sequester the ash and run that through technology to burn it without oxygen and sequester all the toxins and stuff in it.
so
And
they put the debris in a temporary landfill at Uluwatu,
That's right.
and now they're transporting that to the main dump that we have here in central Maui. And right now, 40% of the transport from Uluwatu to the main dump site has been complete at this point in time. So they're moving on it. And again, hats off to our mayor who is following through on his promise. A lot of people said, well, geez, it's going to be there. It's, and it's going to leach and it's going to create problems, especially at Uluwatu, which is next to these very vulnerable reefs.
Mm-hmm.
And but they're moving it, and they're doing it at a very rapid rate. It's a lot of dump truck loads full
Yeah.
of debris that they're moving all the way to the central site. But there it'll be secure. They went and they built a proper one. And like Bruce said, right now they're not considering it toxic waste because they diluted it enough with the substrate so that they can, claim it as such.
It still doesn't mean it's gone away. It just doesn't disappear. But anyway, that's my point. That's my
Yeah.
point. But I just wanted to say thank you guys so much. Is there any last things that you guys want to share? And then we could be talking for hours and hours. This is going on the Voice of Kona Radio. If you guys are listening on the Big Island, Mahalo Nui Loa, you can check out Maui Community Investigation. And also, if you're listening on the Sovereign Radio, check out Maui Community Investigation. They have so much great information. And I do want to say thank you, guys, because Maui Community Investigation did help with the book. You guys, Bruce's information about weather's in there, and really grateful for what you guys have done. And so I do want to ask too, is there any steps forward? Is there any actions that we can take around this? Because like I said earlier, I did send myself and many others sent the affidavit of truth notarized to the Hawaii governor saying that a third party investigation needs to investigate this. It was completely 100% ignored. We also sent letters to the Maui police commissioner wanting the Maui police chief investigated as well around this. Again,
Yeah.
nothing.
Let me just say a little bit something about the investigation that the state has put on. What they hired a contractor, Underwriter Laboratories. Underwriter Laboratories is the same organization that did the investigation and part of the 9/11 power collapse in New York.
Interesting.
They came up with the data so that they came up with this theory of pancake collapse.
I remember that.
So they made up this whole story that, oh, no, it wasn't controlled demolition. Oh, no, it wasn't anything to do with any type of plasma technology that could have been utilized for that. No, this is what happens with skyscrapers collapse. Well, this pancake theory never happened before. It
Mm-hmm.
never happened after. Same organization, Underwriter Laboratories, they hired so that they would go along with this made up narrative of, oh, it was a down power line that created this whole mess. Oh, it was long grass that was happened because they didn't cut the grass. Just enough, and with the hurricane passing the way it did, they said,
Yeah.
okay, that's going to be the weather reason.
It
And
took
then
me
they,
5 minutes looking at Google Earth to find 2 arson points for the brush fire in Lahaina. About 5 minutes looking at it and say, oh, there's the arson points there and there on either side of the highway. Went out there and documented it. Did they talk about that? No. Did they look for it? No.
but again, this is how, and guess who they hired for the LA fire? Underwriter
Same.
Laboratories.
Yeah.
So again, this
Man.
is the way they're doing the scam, where they have this company that comes in, falsifies data, make it look like a natural event. They try their best to, and they make sure that none of the data that we've collected on that shows anything outside of that scenario.
Yep.
So this is how they perpetuate the scam and delude people, and especially with control of media that they have, it
Mm-hmm.
makes it extremely difficult. I mean, we've been sequestered, shuttered down on so many different occasions to try to get the word out about what's happened from our investigation and the work that we've been doing by going in there. I mean, we have teams that have been going in and doing work. And by the way, we still have things that we'd like to investigate. We have a lot of samples, and we're not able to do lab tests because of the cost. And we wanted to find out because I think there's certainly a lot of indicators that it's a thermite type mixture that was used as, as part of the spray that came over,
Hmm.
and that would really increase acceleration as well as other layers. So again, these are the types of things that we'd like to investigate, but again, we don't have the financial resources. So
Even the soil samples we took from the base of the trees, there's going to be some elements, that you could look for in that and test for to see was this like a lightning strike plasma energy development,
yep.
or is
So
this normal ash from normal fires or high energy plasma involved? But if we had
hmm
funding, we could actually test that ash. We've saved that ash for that very reason.
yep.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
So
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 you
we had
guys,
yep.
go
So
ahead. I
anyway,
just want to say if you guys want to donate, I'll have the link in the description, Maui Community Investigation.com or .org or either both.
both.
Okay, Maui Community Investigation. Please send them a donation if you can, and I'll send this in the description as well as the email. It'll go in the email that I'll send this video to as well and out to people. Appreciate any support that you guys want to offer this because, I keep thinking there's no way they can really get away with this if we keep sharing this information. That's why when I go speaking, sharing this information, not only about what happened in Maui and what happened in LA and the weather modification, but who owns America, the truth about carbon, smart cities, and climate change, and what Americans are doing to get free, to bring back our freedom, because it does take grassroots movement actions locally. That's where our power is. And I just love, Paul, what you said about the frequency that we can use this, and that's what we're supposed to do. So that's why I do the visualization prayers that I do at the end. Really
Yeah,
appreciate that.
and I think this is a spiritual journey that we're on,
Hmm.
and that we are fighting demonic forces.
Yep.
And this is part of the process, learning about energy, learning about consciousness, and not from a religious standpoint, but from a reality standpoint
Hmm.
of our emotions and feelings and how we work in group dynamics, and utilizing it so that we can align and create cohesion with the larger plasma field. And if we do that with love, openness, receptivity, connectivity as relationships, this is the way the energy works. And if we
Hmm.
start to align with that energy and go at that frequency, then of love and acceptance and openness and connectivity like that, then we start to mimic that energy field, and we start to feel more and more and more of that energy, and we can start to utilize that in a positive and uplifting way. So again, this is part of, I think, the journey, and this is forcing us to
Yeah.
look at that deeper reality of what we really are in.
I love it. Well, on that note, let's do a quick visualization and call forth what it is we want. Infinite Creator, Great Spirit of all things, we know we are not alone. We know that the truth cannot stay hidden forever. Buddha says the truth, three things cannot stay hidden: the truth, the sun, and the moon. And Great Spirit, we know that the light is shining on Lahaina, on Maui, on LA, on all places around the world where an attack has happened. And this truth is coming about, and more people are waking up to see it. And in that, are shifting the frequency back to love, to honor those who have transitioned out of their bodies from these attacks, to honor all the people that are doing investigations like the Maui Community Investigation. We just sent so much mahalo to Bruce and to Paul and to the entire Maui Community Investigation team of all their timeless work that they've put into this research. And we send them also protection always, that they are always kept safe, that they are never alone, that they are always guided. Great Spirit, we send that same frequency of love, of appreciation, of protection to all light workers who are doing this research on any area that has been attacked around the world, because there's so many areas. Great Spirit, Canada, millions and millions of acres, LA just destroyed. And Great Spirit, we just know that these places that have been the victims of these attacks, that something great is going to come about for these people. Great Spirit, we call forth that now. We call forth the people of Lahaina, that they are always taken care of, that they are guided in a way that just brings them more peace in their hearts. And Great Spirit, we bind anybody who is a part of these attacks. We bind them with the unconditional frequency of love, because love is so much stronger than fear, than anger, than hatred. We bind them with that unconditional Christ consciousness of love from doing any more harm, that their hearts be turned. And we call forth any whistleblower that saw something that can bring about more light and more truth. We ask that their courage that's already inside them be built up 1,000,000 times over, that they will step forward and speak the truth, that they will step forward, Great Spirit. We know that this world is becoming a better place. We call forth peace for all people around the planet. We call forth the safety of all people, especially of our children, of our keiki, that all children are safe. We call forth the frequency that this world is in harmony with all people, and the Aina, the land, is clean, the water is clean, the air is clean. We call forth this now. We know it is done, Great Spirit, because you are the frequency that has created this planet, that has created the solar system and the universe, that guides the honeybees to their flowers, that moves the sun across the sky. And Great Spirit, we call forth peace, harmony, love, aloha for all people around the world. We call this forth now, and we know it is done. We know it is done. Thank you so much, Great Spirit, that we get to watch the movie unfold. We get to watch as people who have harmed human life, who has harmed freedom, who has harmed private property, that they are held accountable, that they are peaceably or otherwise removed from power, that they peaceably step down, that their hearts are turned to doing what is right. We hold them accountable, Great Spirit. We know by you it is done. We know it is done. Thank you, Mahalo Nui Loa. Thank you so much. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. Mahalo Nui Loa, my amazing brothers. I really appreciate all the work you guys are doing. If you guys are watching this, listening to it on the radio, please go to Maui Community Investigation, support their work, getting the soil samples tested, and also these people will be held accountable. We call it forth now. We get to watch as it unfolds, and it is so done. So much mahalo, everyone, and aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha.